Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. The rumors were true. Apple has officially tapped Google Gemini to power the new Siri. It is a pragmatic admission that in the race for foundation models, Cupertino needs Mountain View's scale to deliver the AI features promised back at WWDC. But collaboration isn't the only theme today. Anthropic has reportedly caught Elon Musk's XAI using Claude to build its own models and promptly cut them off. It's a stark reminder that in the AI wars, your biggest competitor might also be your most important customer. Also today, Google launches a universal commerce protocol to standardize how agents buy things. OpenAI acquires a medical data startup, and Netflix decides it wants to be a podcast player. But before we dive into the rundown, are you drowning in dense legal text? Jamgamind is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27, Canada, or the CMS 0057F interoperability rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at jamgamind.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now, let's unravel the news.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know what, the last few weeks in AI felt, well, fast, like a rapid evolution. Today, January 13th, 2026. This felt like a single seismic event. This wasn't just about small upgrades. This was high stakes. We're talking huge alliances, open rivalries, and the quiet building of the next decade's infrastructure.
It was definitely a day where the market defined itself through action, not just, mission statements. We've been poring over all the sources, and our mission today is to really unpack these headlines and not just report on them, but analyze what it all means for you, whether you're a developer, an investor, or an executive trying to plot your next move.
We've got 4 major stories today, and they really paint a picture of an industry that's specializing and scaling up fast. We'll start with that incredible Apple and Google frenemy deal for Siri. Then, the very public spat heating up between Anthropic and XAI over coding. After that, Google's huge bid to create what they're calling the HTTP for shopping. And finally, we're going to spend a good chunk of time on why every single major lab seems to have decided today was the day to go all in on healthcare. Okay, let's jump into this first one. The headline that just dominated everything today: Apple is choosing Google Gemini to power the next-gen Siri. It's hard to overstate how big that is, especially for Apple, a company that famously wants to control its entire stack.
It is the ultimate pragmatic move. The deal confirms Gemini is the new foundation, the core large language model for Siri. And this should be rolling out later this year. We're expecting it with iOS 26.4, so probably March or April.
And for the user, what's actually changing? This isn't just Siri getting a little bit better at telling jokes, right?
Yeah.
This whole alliance is about delivering features Apple promised, but, well, kept delaying. We're talking about Siri finally getting on-screen awareness so it can see what you're doing. And deeper app controls, better personal context, all the stuff that was supposed to be at WWDC 2024.
And what's really fascinating here is just how explicit Apple was about it.
The justification.
Yeah. The official statement basically said, look, we evaluated everything, and Gemini's model is just, quote, significantly larger and more capable than anything we've built internally.
Wow. That's a direct quote that changes the whole narrative. But wait, if you're Apple, the company of privacy and control, doesn't choosing Google, of all companies, set off every single alarm bell for users?
Absolutely. That is the critical risk here. And it just shows you how big the capability gap was that they were trying to close. Apple is basically betting that their on-device security, their own execution layers, will be strong enough to keep everyone happy while they outsource the raw intelligence to Google. Which brings us to the big question for any exec or investor listening.
Is this a surrender?
Right. Is Apple just giving up on their own internal AI dreams? Or is this a genuinely smart stopgap?
A way to deliver the features they desperately need right now to compete, while buying their own teams a few more years to catch up on foundation model development without all that public pressure.
Precisely. It's a huge acknowledgement that even a company with Apple's resources couldn't build everything it needed at the speed the market now demands. Sometimes you have to partner up, even with your biggest competitor.
Okay, so moving from uneasy alliances to outright skirmishes, Anthropic and XAI just took their rivalry public in a big way. The story is that Anthropic cut off XAI's access to its Claude models.
Right, and this is like watching a high-drama fight over a single critical tool in the coding world. The specifics of how this happened are what make it so interesting for developers. XAI, Musk's lab, they weren't using Claude for some public feature.
No.
No, they were reportedly using the rival system through a third-party platform called Cursor. And they were using it to speed up their own internal development.
Wait, so let me get this straight. They were borrowing their biggest rival's best asset
Claude Code, yeah.
to build their own competing asset faster. I mean, that feels like a calculated risk.
It was definitely pushing the boundaries.
Right.
Anthropic's terms are really clear.
Yeah.
You can't use their models to build or train a competing AI. XAI obviously violated that. And this isn't the first time Anthropic has done this either. They've cut off others for similar reasons.
But are we sure XAI wasn't, I don't know, trying to provoke this, to get some free press and paint Anthropic as the bad guy putting up walls? It fits a certain narrative.
That's a sharp question. We can't know the motive, but the public response was all about the impact. An XAI co-founder, Tony Wu, he confirmed the block in a memo, said their Claude access just stopped working. But he immediately tried to spin it as motivation, saying something like, yeah, we'll take a shit on productivity, but this just means we have to work faster on our own coding tools.
But for the developer community, the signal here is huge. The very fact that a lab like XAI was relying on Claude, through Cursor no less, for their own internal speed, that's a massive unsolicited endorsement for how good Claude Code and Opus have become.
It highlights this crucial dynamic in the industry right now. Coding assistants are now so essential that even AI development itself depends on them. The models are building the next models, which makes using a rival's model this incredibly messy, critical battleground. Everyone wants to move fast, but nobody wants their competitor borrowing their crown jewels to do it.
Okay, let's shift from code battles to infrastructure and commerce. Google just dropped something called the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP. And reading through the sources, the analogy that just jumped out is that Google is trying to build the HTTP for shopping.
That analogy is perfect. It really captures the scale of what they're trying to do. UCP is an open source framework, and it's designed specifically for agentic shopping. If you think about it, the whole economy is moving towards autonomous agents doing things for us. For that to work, the agents need a shared language, a shared infrastructure to handle the whole journey, from finding a product to checkout to post-purchase support. UCP is meant to be that language.
And what makes this feel so, I don't know, so real is that they didn't just cook this up in a lab somewhere.
Oh no, this was not done in isolation.
They built it with Shopify, Walmart, Target, Etsy.
The biggest names in e-commerce, right? And then you see the endorsements, Visa, MasterCard.
Stripe, Macy's, Best Buy. I mean, it's everyone. That kind of consensus move is rare.
It's a very deliberate, coordinated play to define the standard before anyone else can. And for users, the impact is immediate. Google is adding native checkout right into AI mode in search in the Gemini app. You'll be able to buy things mid-conversation with Google Pay. And they're rolling out a new business agent feature so brands can put their own little transaction-ready assistants right in the search results.
So my AI assistant could talk to a brand's AI assistant using this UCP language and just handle a purchase for me without me having to click through 5 pages. But what about the competitive angle here? Does this squeeze out other companies like ad platforms or e-commerce middleware?
It absolutely raises that question. I mean, if Google controls a protocol for all agentic transactions, that gives them a massive advantage in where that commerce flows. The takeaway for executives is clear. The real shift is happening behind the scenes. Being optimized for UCP is about to become as important as having a website was back in 1999. If your brand's agent can't speak the language, you can't transact.
Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most defining theme of the entire day. Today really confirmed that the industry is shifting hard from just building general models to deep vertical integration in high-value sectors. And it's starting with medicine.
Exactly. This synchronized movement is it's impossible to ignore. We saw 3 huge separate stories that all point to the same thing. The generalist race is maturing. The specialization race has begun.
So let's break this down. Part 1, Anthropic. They're putting Claude right into the clinic.
Right, with Claude for Healthcare. It's a specific IPA-compliant toolset.
And it's targeting those really painful admin tasks, right? Like prior authorization.
Exactly. Prior auth, medical coding, claims appeals. It connects to these complex databases like the CMS coverage database and ICD-10 codes to just automate that drudgery. They're even letting Pro and Max subscribers connect their personal lab results and health records through Apple Health and Android Health Connect.
Wow. Okay, so that's solving the niche compliance-heavy problems. Then part two is OpenAI moving on the data layer itself.
That's right. They're acquiring a startup called Torch for around $60 million. Torch's whole mission is creating a unified medical memory. They're trying to pull together all the patient records that are scattered across different incompatible hospital systems. The whole team is joining OpenAI, which is a huge move, especially since it comes right after they launched ChatGPT Health last week. They're not just building tools, they're buying the data pipeline.
And then there's the hardware layer, NVIDIA. They're getting into foundational data creation.
A huge move. NVIDIA and Eli Lilly are launching a joint AI drug discovery lab. This is a massive 5-year, over $1 billion commitment.
$1 billion, wow.
And the goal here isn't just to apply AI, it's to generate high-quality ground truth data from large-scale lab work to then train new biology foundation models. It creates this expensive feedback loop, better experiments, better data, better models, and it's all running on Lilly's existing NVIDIA DGX Super PODs.
And just to cap it all off, we also saw today that OpenAI officially launched its own dedicated ICAIPA-compliant ChatGPT for healthcare, rolling out to major hospitals.
It completes the picture. The synthesis is it's crystal clear. To get real, safe utility in a field like medicine, you need more than a big model. You need specialized data, you need regulatory compliance like IPA, and you need dedicated compute. The gold rush has moved. It's no longer about building the biggest brain, it's about building the deepest, most expert brain for one high-value area.
We have to move quickly through these last two, but they all reinforce this other theme from today, which is just this staggering demand for compute and the bottlenecks that creates.
The numbers are pretty jarring. Epoch AI put out new data showing that global AI compute capacity is now doubling every 7 months. And just for context, over 60% of the chips fueling that growth since 2022 have been from NVIDIA.
That pace is just unbelievable, and you can already see the resource gap showing up between countries. The head of Alibaba's Kuhn model, Justin Lin, he was really frank. He cited resource gaps and estimated that Chinese AI companies have less than a 20% chance of overtaking the frontier models in the next 3 to 5 years.
And that leads to maybe the most stunning piece of financial news of the day.
Meta news.
Yeah, Meta announced these massive nuclear energy deals with Vistra, TerraPower, and Oklo for up to 6.6 gigawatts of power capacity by 2035. They're becoming one of the biggest corporate nuclear power buyers in the U.S.
6.6 gigawatts. They are literally contracting for future power plants just to ensure their AI development doesn't stop. That is a statement.
And while that scaling war is happening, we did see some real breakthroughs. OpenAI's GPT 5.2 Pro apparently solved 3 complex Erdos problems. These are, famously unsolved problems in mathematics, so that's new ground.
And quickly on the tool side, 11 Labs launched Scribe v2. They're claiming a new state-of-the-art for transcription, lowest error rate on benchmarks, so the tools we use are getting smarter too.
So if we're going to synthesize this massive day, January 13th, it feels like 2 forces are really shaping everything. First, the absolute need for shared, high-quality infrastructure. You see it in the Apple Gemini deal for mobile. You see it in Google's UCP for commerce. And second, this huge, crucial pivot to vertical, specialized expertise. The coordinated move into healthcare by literally everyone, Anthropic, OpenAI, NVIDIA, is the biggest signal of that.
So as we wrap up, here's the thought I want to leave you with. We just talked about Meta needing 6.6 gigawatts of nuclear power. We know compute is doubling every 7 months. Is access to energy, just raw power, now the ultimate non-negotiable bottleneck in the race for AI dominance? And what does that mean for any company, a startup, or even an established one that doesn't have the kind of capital to go out and buy a nuclear power plant?
It's a deeply important question. It's about the true cost of frontier AI and whether the playing field is now fundamentally limited by who can secure the most kilowatts.
We will be tracking that story very closely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll catch you next time.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is dependencies. Whether it's Apple depending on Google for intelligence, XAI depending on Anthropic for coding velocity, or Google depending on retailers to adopt its new shopping protocol, the AI ecosystem is becoming a tangled web of frenemies. The companies that can manage these dependencies without losing their strategic independence will be the ones left standing. Before we go, a reminder for the leaders listening. Are you drowning in dense legal text? JamgaMind is the new audio intelligence platform that turns 100-page healthcare or energy mandates into 5-minute executive briefings. Whether you are navigating Bill C-27 Canada or the CMS 0057F Interoperability Rule, USA, our AI agents decode the liability so you don't have to. Start your specialized audio briefing today at jamgamine.com. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until tomorrow, keep unraveling the future.